this year's spring fishing trip video. I've come down to a new venue today called Furnace Brook. I had to drop the kids off down in Hastings, so instead of fishing water around Bristol, i.e. being a massive drive, I decided to drop in somewhere down here for the night. And I had a good look round at different venues, and I toyed with the idea of going to Wylands, that's just up the road from here. But I fished that last year and it was okay, but I quite fancied the sound of this place. It's a long, thin, kind of 5.5 acre lake, and it's spring fed, so there's a stream that comes in at the top end, so it's shallower and then it gets gradually deeper down at the end that I'm fishing. And it just looked really nice, and I have to say it is absolutely lovely. I wish that I could come back here in maybe a couple of months' time, because I think when everything's kind of grown up and dried out a little bit and the fish are really in a kind of munching mood, I think it would be an amazing spot. Bit of a drive for me, it's about 3.5 hours from home. So I arrived must have been about 4 o'clock, and I decided not to do any filming because that literally gave me an hour and a half, if that, of light. So the focus was getting the rods sorted and getting established as to where I was. Didn't have a lot to go on, but when I arrived there were fish topping in front of me, and when I had a chat to the bailiff, he said that there was a guy fishing in here this morning. So I jumped into peg 2 and I had a good look around as to kind of options. I did get the marker float out and I had a bit of a lead around to see what was out in front of me, and it's reasonably deep. I think I got it down to about 8 foot directly in front of me, but I managed to find somewhere that the bottom felt solid, good spot to present the bait, and I decided to fan the rods out. So the other thing that I really liked about this swim is that off to my right there's an inflow pipe, and at this time of year when the oxygen levels are low in the water and stuff, I thought, yeah, that's a good bet actually. If I've got fresh oxygenated water going into the lake, that's a good spot to try. So I put a margin rod straight out in front of me at about 7 wraps, I think it was, solid bag. I went for a boilie in that, and the left hand rod I went for 10 wraps out to a spot that I found, and with that one I put a yellow wafter on, again solid bag pellets, and yeah, I figured I'll let those settle and I'll see what happens. I had a run at about 7 o'clock on the middle rod that I struck into thin air, nothing on the end, and yeah, apart from that it was very, very quiet. Redid the rods at about, I suppose it was about 8:30, and got my head down because I was absolutely exhausted. And then I think it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, the right hand rod out to the inflow pipe absolutely melted off, and yeah, this was on the end. There you go. First fish of the night, first fish of this trip for me as well. He's not huge, but I know that they're not huge in here. This overnight, it was all about the quality of the fish, and this fella is a tip-top condition common. It's probably maybe just into about 10-11 pounds. Yeah. Oh, I'm getting knocks and indications on the other, so hopefully the fish have moved up the lake from the kind of sanctuary of the kind of out of bounds area down the end there. Oh, and yeah, hopefully I'm going to get a couple more of these. Yeah, all 3 rods have been redone while this fella was resting in the net. And yeah, he's been very well behaved. So yeah, pretty chuffed with that. I'll slip this fella back, get my head down again, and hopefully we'll get a couple more. So yeah, it's good to have got a fish from a new venue on what I think is a pretty tough time of year to be fishing. I wish it was warmer, but you can't dictate the weather. It was snowing last weekend, so yeah. I'm going to finish my drink, and I think what I'm going to do is have a bit of a lap of the lake. There's a island up at the top end here, And a couple of guys I got chatting to yesterday who'd come up here for a recce said there's a fish refuge up there, and there were 4 or so fish kind of milling around that island that they spotted. So I'm going to do a lap round, check out the island, head over to the lodge, do my washing up and brush my teeth, all of those kind of exciting camping things that you do first thing in the morning, and see what's what, because at the moment this swim seems to be pretty dead. I haven't had a knock or a tap or even a nothing since I recast the rods at 5 o'clock this morning. So yeah, apart from a pretty good night's sleep and that one fish, it's been pretty slow. So yeah, let's see what happens. Beneficial, and yeah, on my walk I saw 3 fish, 2 in this kind of snaggy tree, it's over on this side, and that was enough for me to think, okay, let's move. So yeah, rapidly packed down the gear and headed up to the thinner, shallower part of the lake. I've dropped 1 rod with a solid bag out to the island just behind me, the other rod out to where I saw the 2 fish milling around next to the snaggy tree, and I was just clipping up the 3rd rod to the far bank when a fish lumped out on the other side next to another snaggy tree. Luckily I had a rig ready to go and managed to pretty much land it on its head, so I'm hoping for another pickup. Yeah, it's so quiet here. It's crazy quiet, so I'm trying to be as quiet as I possibly can be. Yeah, all 3 rods are in what I think are good spots, so the fact that I've seen fish, fingers crossed. So yeah, let's see what happens. Well, rather irritatingly, I lost one. The island point rod that I had the solid bag in went off and I struck into thin air. Always annoying to lose a fish, really annoying to lose a fish when you've had such a tough session. But I decided to move the tree snag rod. I've moved it to the other side of the tree, and I've been trickling in boilies since I've moved to this swim. Interestingly, I dropped it in and I've already had a liner, so you never know. That's where I first saw one of the fish this morning. So yeah, it still continues to be tough. It's about 10:30 now, so time is slowly ticking away. Well, I've given it everything. I've given it my all, and yeah, no joy. I had what might have been a run on the snaggy tree rod, but it didn't turn into anything. I've had a couple of beeps on the other rods. I've repositioned the other one to a snaggy tree opposite, but no signs of fish. And it's been tough going. I'm glad that I got that one this morning, because otherwise it would have been a blank, which would have been a bit of a disaster, to be honest. But it would have been nice to have another couple. But yeah, just checking out how long it's going to take me to get back across to the West Country. The gear's all pretty much packed down apart from the rods. But yes, I have a feeling it's time to bid Furnace Brook Fishery a farewell. You never know, you might see me back here. Who knows? But yeah, short video because of the lack of fish, I'm afraid. But yeah, like it if you did, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you at the next venue.